Welcome to the Serious TV Drama Podcast with Scot and Dan. I'm Scott, and with me as always, the Thanos to my Manos, it's Dan. How you doing tonight, Dan?
I'm here. No, I'm doing good.
I was about to say, right now that's probably good enough.
Yeah.
So, we are here tonight to finally get around to an off-delayed podcast where we were going to get back together with our little crew and finally get to talking about what's been going on in the DC universe, at least as far as TV is concerned, except for Gotham, because we're just not going to talk about that. Which means we are going to be joined by our STVD All-Star Squad, or at least 2/3 of it, because one of them has not been watching anything, apparently.
He's been off killing people.
No one's going to know what we're talking about. Yes, in Louisiana, right? So let's get right to the introduction so we can have them join the fray here. First, Our Lady of Chicago in cosplay, it's Vicki.
Hi.
Yay, Vicki's here. And our favorite punching bag, but he's also the nicest one of us all, probably, other than Vicki, maybe. It's Jason.
Hello, welcome to episode number 1001. Oh no, sorry, it's 206. It's just been so long since we've done this. It just feels like it's been that long.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me until we were yapping at the end of our previous podcast that we haven't recorded with you guys this year.
That is true.
That is completely true.
I can't remember. I think it's been back November or something.
Yeah, November.
Was it November or December? I couldn't remember. I thought it was right. It was after they did the big crossover.
Yeah.
So
the last one we did was the crossover. So.
Right. So basically, for the shows that we're going to cover, for the most part, it's going to be talking about them post crossover. And some of us have seen at least 1, 2, or 3 of the shows. We're actually going to be covering a bunch of shows tonight, but hopefully we'll do it in a fun and... I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to shut up before I go any further with that line. Let's stop yapping about whatever it is. Oh, I've had a bit to drink, so if I seem a little discombobulated, people, it's my bad. So that's why I want to let these guys do all the talking tonight. So, let's get things started off with a series that actually completed its season a few weeks ago. And the one I'm talking about is Legends of Tomorrow. So as I said, Legends of Tomorrow completed their 3rd season, I believe it was, just a few weeks ago. And I'm sure we've been kind of itching to talk about this one for a while. So let's start off with, since we haven't heard some of you guys for so long, Jason, tell us something about Legends. Give us a few insights here.
Okay. Bebo is love. First of all, let's get that out of the way. I just have to say that this is the craziest CW show that they have around. Any show, they end the season by having the majority of the main characters all combined into a giant Bebo, complete with a Bruce Lee come on gesture, has to be a really fucking funny show. Also, bonus for the meta nod for the first season by referencing the Hawk Chicken people. While he makes a nice addition to the team, it's something they introduced towards the end. He really brought a lot of fresh chemistry, fresh juice to the show. And I'm kind of happy that Vixen left because I feel like her run is done. Even though it's just temporary, but it's good for now. Let the character rest.
Interesting. So Vicky, I heard you go, So you might have had taken issue with his comment about Vixen there. What was your feelings about those things and maybe more?
No, I wasn't taking issue with his feelings. I'm just like, just because this, I don't know if this would necessarily be considered a spoiler, but they're saying that her character is not leaving the show, and which is kind of something I take issue with, in fact, because they keep doing this with her character. They have her leave, and then she comes back and leaves and comes back. I feel like they just need to. She is. I really enjoyed her on the show, but I think just they've come to a place with her character where she just needs to leave for good.
Yeah, she needs to go. I'm going to say she needs to go the way of the Hawkman and Vandal Savage and those people. She needs to go away for a while.
Yeah.
Do you have? I'm sorry. Do you have as low an opinion of her as the Hawk people in Vandal Savage? I hadn't caught on to that before.
No, but it's definitely had run its course, because it just seemed like the drag towards the end of the season. She's already referencing her family and the tragedy, and she has to prevent that, and it just kind of got old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that kind of seems all they do with her character is they reference, what happens with her family, and no, she needs to go back and settle in her norm, in the time that she belongs in. But no, she can't. But yes, she does. But she needs to. But no, she can't. So.
I totally agree with you, both you guys, about that. And the quickest contrast within the show is, I'm just going to call her Isis, because that's who she really is, even though I guess they can't say that. She's a character who also has a certain backstory that probably should involve her returning to some point in time and tragedy in her family, whatever. But they don't beat us over the head every single week about it. And I kind of think that's kind of what was happening with the Vixen character. And so I also was getting a little bit tired of it, because although I will give the show credit at the same time, at least they found a way to knit that backstory into the overall story arc of the season, as opposed to just being something she added. You know what I mean? So at least it became part of the overall storyline. So at least it had a point to it, so to speak. But I got really kind of tired of it after a while, because it seemed like, well, no matter what she does, she's going to have to go back eventually. So just go back. Dan, what was your? I'm looking forward to hearing what your take was on these things and others on Legends.
I actually didn't get tired of that at all. I didn't think they brought it up a fair amount of time, but I guess the fact that she's just a better actor than most of the other characters in the show. I guess I'd rather her, complain about her village getting burned down or whatever, like every episode, than like ever see Nate again. So I guess, in comparison to some of that, I don't know, it didn't really bother me that much.
I guess when you put it that way, because Nate does feel at times like a wasted potential character. There seemed to be a lot more to him when he first started than they've really done with him. Vicki, I feel like you probably had a lot more to say on Legends here.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, I love this show. It's bananas and it's crazy, and it kind of just embraces that. I loved obviously, the times Constantine was in the show, and I'm beyond thrilled that he's going to be regular next season.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes. Wholeheartedly, yes. You literally cannot kill that character. Matt Ryan will be Constantine forever and ever now.
And also adding someone who can actually act on the show, hooking up what Dan was just saying is kind of a nice change of pace for the show as well. Go on.
Yeah, but I want to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying about Nate, and that is my biggest nitpick the thing I dislike the most about the show, because he has become such a dude bro.
Yeah.
And
what Vicki was too polite to say was, he's just a fuckboy. So there you go, Vicki.
yeah. yeah, but because that seems to be the only way they give him any personality. You know, we've talked about how he and Ray's personalities were so interchangeable, you could give them the other person's lines and it wouldn't make any difference.
Right.
This was not the way to go, because it's just so cringy to work every time they do that. And just when, he and Amaya sneak off in the middle of a mission or whatever, and he's hitting on, what the older version of Amaya, and just
and Ray's mom
disgusting.
too.
Yeah,
and Ray's mom way
mom.
back in the ET episode.
All right.
Pretty much any female he comes into contact with, it's disgusting.
I absolutely agree. Here's the thing: what they should have done. One of the things you look forward to in a show, or anything when you're dealing with like a team of superheroes or whatever, is how you have very distinct and different personalities making up the team, and that way, it makes them more fun to watch, and B, it's how you have dramatic conflict between characters, whether it be light or heavy. And the show definitely does have a lot of characters who are decidedly different than one another. But the Ray-Nate thing has been bothersome for a while, and it bugs me, because when they first brought Nate on, it was the whole he's a master historian. That's supposed to be his thing. And it seems like they've rarely played that up to any extent. So it's like his character doesn't have much point then. It's just, we've got enough people doing comic relief on the show. I mean, whether it be Mick or Ray or whatever. It's weird to say this, but I think if he had been a bit more of a straight-laced character, I think I would have preferred it, because if once they made the decision to make Ray goofy, because he wasn't goofy when he was on Arrow, particularly as far as I can recall. I mean, he had his moments, but not to the extreme he's become on Legends. To have another one like that, it's never worked for me. He's a likable enough guy or actor or something, but just, I like the storyline. Again, I love how we're supposed to be talking about stuff like post-crossover, but everything we're thinking of goes beyond it. The stuff that dealt with him, with his father or grandfather. Would it be his grandfather? Who's
grandfather?
I think it's grandfather.
That stuff with him and that storyline, that worked. That was good. Because it got serious, because it got in, and that made him interesting finally. But when it's just been this light, goofy character who's kind of the lovesick puppy for Vixen, and then hurt because God forbid she wants to save her family and legacy and future descendants, and not be with him instead. I wouldn't have minded that much if they had decided to write him. I'd almost rather they write him out instead of Vixen. Not the more I think about it, because the whole turning into steel thing they don't really use it to any great extent. He's no Colossus, so I don't know. Yeah. One of the things I've really enjoyed about this season, and it's kind of it started in season 2 as well, because one of the things we loved about season 2 was, unlike the crappy Vandal Savage stuff in season 1, season 2, the Legion of Doom was fun, So then they kind of continued into this, and they kept Damien Dark around. And we're watching Damien Dark, and I'm thinking a bunch of things. Number one, he was never right to be on Arrow to begin with. He was never a good fit on that show. But he works on this show, and he gets a lot of really good, funny lines. And I thought, particularly in the last few episodes, where they kind of humanized him for the first time, I think, in the existence of that character, quite as far as I'm concerned, made him that much more interesting. So yeah. I really liked, although at the same time, I'm okay with not seeing Damien Dark again for a while because it's been like 2 seasons worth already. It took me maybe enough. Of
Plus Arrow.
Yeah, we've had him for like 3 straight seasons of TV shows.
Yeah.
I fully admit I kind of rolled my eyes when they had him this season yet again. But like you were saying, the last couple of episodes, he has some really good stuff.
Right. Right. I mean, the fact that he actually had realized what he was doing, the usual the maniacal supervillain doesn't seem to care about the consequences of his actions, realizing what he was doing to his daughter, that this is all about getting his daughter back, and now he had lost her to this, the demon Malice, which, I love the idea at the end that his name was never Malice, it was Malice, which makes a lot more sense. And they just continue to just say, now we're going to stick with the mispronunciation. It's like, wait, did I write this? Because I'm the one who mispronounces everything. But I really enjoyed that. Oh, and speaking of villains, John Noble as the voice of Malice, I loved. But that one episode,
that was masterful.
Guest starring John Noble.
They're taking. I mean, it's funny in a show about meta humans. They're taking meta to a whole new level on this show. That was great.
You could say there was levels of meta.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Another thing, and I'm interested to hear opinions about this, because I other than a certain legendary rock and roll singer, I think they actually did a better job this season of casting whether it be the one-off historical figures or people who might appear in a couple episodes. I actually enjoyed some of those performances where usually that's always been, personally, for me, my least favorite thing about Legends. I thought a few really stood out this season. I mean, Blackbeard, I thought, was really good. I really enjoyed the Blackbeard character, for example.
Yeah, I was happy to see him show up back in the finale.
Yeah, I liked how they brought, like Blackbeard back and was it Hetty and some of the others back for the last episode.
Yeah, it was Helen. She's Helen of Troy, right?
Or Helen of Troy. I'm sorry. Yeah, she was in the Hetty Lamar.
Right. So it's Blackbeard, Helen of Troy, and I guess it was Caesar. Right?
Caesar.
Yeah.
Caesar was kind of eh.
And the Viking.
I kept forgetting what her name was, and I still don't remember what it is.
Yeah, it escapes me right now.
The Viking chick, the one who already thought Bebo was a god. And okay, did anyone see that coming? Since you brought it up from the beginning, Jason, that they were going to go back to Bebo.
No way.
Well, now this is a show that I'll be the first to admit they go a little bit too far at times, or in a really ham-handed way at times, with making cute little references to any number of TV shows and especially movies, whatever. And I'm guessing that was like their nod to Ghostbusters, when someone thought of something that they shouldn't have thought of.
Absolutely.
So instead of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, we get Bebo. I just sat there going like, I can't believe where this show just went.
Okay, I had another one, which is the Muppet movie. Towards the end, where the giant frog comes out in the western town. I was thinking of that as well. That's thinking way, way, way back. It just goes to show my age. Oh, it's the giant animal. That's what it was.
And I have to say, I was also very pleased to see Jonah Hex show up again.
Yes.
So
we got a third appearance of Jonah. That was good. It was hilarious how Zari totally had a thing for him.
I was very surprisingly, I was very much enjoying that. I don't remember. I guess we must have talked about it a little bit in our last podcast, but that was 18 years ago. So who knows? That's a character who I was very iffy on for a while, but she grew on me. And I think I know the episode that did it, and I think it's for me personally. Although a number of shows, and I know one that Dan's thinking of right off the bat, have kind of done something like this before. But the whole Groundhog Day style episode that really focused on her, I really liked that episode. And
that was a strong episode.
And it really made me like her as a character. That might have been what made me maybe turn my head on her character. Maybe go, oh, you know what? I'm really enjoying her. Dan, isn't there is it Next Generation episode like that, right? I think I just saw it a couple months ago. Where
Cause and Effect.
Where so it's very similar because they even survive, like they keep the Enterprise keeps blowing up and they keep trying to figure out a way to avoid that or something like that.
Yeah, because they keep crashing into Fraser's starship.
That's right. He's the weird cameo of Kelsey Grammer at the end of that one. That's right. But anyway, that was what was I don't remember what the title of that episode was. But that was definitely one of the standouts of the season. Vicki, was there anything else that really kind of stood out? I mean, I know we enjoyed the Constantine stuff, and I'm curious about the upcoming season because all that we know at the end is by defeating Mollusk, but there's quote unquote other demons. I feel like that's just like the next episode kind of a thing, not an entire season story arc idea. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to interact with the team. I mean, how do you see that playing out?
Oh gosh, yeah, I don't know, because I think he said a whole bunch of other demons escaped when they freed Malice, so not necessarily just one. But no, I really enjoyed the stuff that we had between Kwasa and Amaya. That was really good. I thought she became a more dimensional character than she initially was.
Yes.
And and then the other thing in the finale, it was interesting just to see the whole like time thing because Jax was saying it's only been a couple of months for them, but for him it's been like 5 years.
Yeah, that's one of those loosey-goosey things because really wouldn't it just depend on whatever point someone decides to go in time to pick somebody up? So, So that's so for whatever reason they choose to go pick up Jax.
Yeah, that didn't entirely make sense. Like, why would they go 5 years in the future rather than
the next day?
Yeah, but it was interesting, to learn that he's kind of settled down and has a family now.
Dan?
That could have been something too, where like that was a better place to pull him out of the timeline. Because if he got killed during the mission, like it might be less crucial. So maybe his child that he's helping raise is like important, and he needed to be there at that time.
That makes sense. Yeah, that could be it. Maybe he just needed to mature. I don't know. I knew that he was going to be on the episode, and for a minute there, I was thinking, okay, I haven't heard anything about Victor Garber anywhere, so they're not going to undo that, are they? Are they going to come with some Firestorm related thing? But no, he's just a guy, which made me think, really, they're taking on like this gigantic army of people, and we'll just get him. It's like, what's so special about him? Oh, it's Jax. I don't mind. Jason, you mentioned Wally's edition earlier, right?
Yes, I did.
Funny thing, Wally's much more looser on this show than he ever was on The Flash, and I know he went off and did his meditating Zen thing or something, and maybe that's somehow responsible, or his bizarre, goofy, emo hairstyle he has now. But I like the idea of him being on the show. Although they seem to almost make fun of the issue that because he's got the amazing abilities of a speedster, there's a lot he can do which really negates the stuff they usually have to do. Like, oh, we need to get I'll go get it. He got that kind of stuff. So it's the risk of having someone with that kind of power on the show kind of could throw the balance off, but. I'd still rather they do that than have someone with powers and then never use them, which was kind of my problem with like the Firestorm idea and stuff like that on the show. It's like, why do you have Firestorm and he never really does anything Firestormy?
Right, and it's not just that. It's also with Steel and Atom too. They don't really use their powers that much either. You know, because they're saving the money for the giant Bebo.
Right. And it's also the shocking idea of wait, you've got a show with a team of superheroes and one of them is actually wearing an outfit other than the exo whatever that Ray sometimes wears, but seems to often not be wearing it. You were going to say something, Jason?
Other than that, lost my train of thought there for a second.
It's okay.
Dog started barking in the background. I had to switch to a different room.
it's like my old situation. Go on.
Yeah, well, I think the actor that plays Wally, I think he's much more looser around this group of people than he was perhaps around the Team Flash group for whatever reason. Maybe they just said, hey, you don't have to worry about being dragged down by a bunch of drama. We have fun over here. And maybe that's what it is.
I'm sure he has more to prove when he's around his father and sister and stepbrother / brother-in-law. Also,
and he's not. And I think it's also a big thing is he's not mooning over Jesse Quick at this point the way he was on the other show. So because he's gone off to find himself or whatever. So when we total it all up, since we did complete the season here, Can
I crap on Ava being a clone? Because that was really lame.
That
Oh no, I didn't find any of it to be the least bit interesting. It was just like, oh, we need to do something to make this character interesting, and then they failed to do so, in my opinion. I don't know, they just didn't execute.
I'll also say, I was annoyed how they killed Rip off. It was pointless.
He's not really dead.
I don't think he's really dead either. I thought I was expecting the reveal in that episode that he didn't actually die. I'm torn on the Ava thing because they dropped those hints early on from Rip that there's something more to her. So I was like, okay, what's it gonna be? And then the reveal of it. I don't know if I disliked it as much as you did, Dan. I think I was just like, okay, it's. There were things I did like about it. I like because once that reveal happens and she confronts Rip, and we discover that not only is she a clone, she was like the 14th one that he took from that era to be Ava or something. So it makes her that much less special than she already was. So yeah, I was kind of iffy on it, but I guess it didn't bother me quite as much because it gave her a bit more. I thought, it is. I am looking forward to seeing if they how often they hit the now that Constantine's going to be on the show, and if Ava's still going to be around with Sarah, if they're going to keep playing the whole hey, he was with her too at one point kind of crap, whatever. Hopefully they've kind of already done that. That would be kind of annoying after a while. So hopefully they won't really play those jokes anymore on the show.
Yeah, it'd be time for different jokes.
Yeah, new jokes. So overall, since we already kind of dumped season 1 aside for the most part because Chicken People and Vandal Savage or whatever. But compared to season 2, what do we think? Was this as good, better, maybe a little less? What was the general consensus here?
I'd say it was more fun and more goofy, but less episodes that were actually surprisingly heartfelt and meaningful. So it was still really good. It was just kind of a different show, lighter in tone, I guess.
Yeah. I'm saying overall better just because of the Constantine, but you guys knew that.
Whoa!
Wow. Jason?
If somebody wants to drink some saliva magic potion thing. Probably.
I think this is the best season of them all. They've definitely hit their stride. They did have a couple of heartfelt episodes. I mean, the death of Firestorm was was in this.
Oh yeah,
Was in this run of shows.
And the '80s Ray Palmer,
right? The ET episode
was probably one of the most emotional episodes they've had of this series. So it's got that.
Yeah. And even Ava could also be a little emotional because if you're not that, when it comes out, you're not that special after all. I mean, that could be hard on someone. Up to a point.
I'm a little torn because I really enjoyed the whole Legion of Doom thing, and especially with the Reverse Flash and Dark and Merlin all together. But I think there were more things clicking this season outside of that, comparatively speaking. So I would probably, as a result, push this one just a slight nudge ahead. But it's very close. It's very close. But I'm very happy that they're still doing what they're doing, and of course that they got renewed. And I'm going to try to, other than knowing that Constantine is going to be part of the show now, I'm going to try to avoid any spoilers about any other cast additions or deletions, although I'm sure I'll find out anyway. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they do in season 4. All right. And speaking of season 4s, let's move on to where we are up to now with season 4 of The Flash. Okay, so again, we're going to really try to talk about it post crossover. So let's, to start us off, Vicki, would you mind getting into a couple of things that have you've either liked or have had issues with The Flash so far this year?
Yeah. Kind of some of the best episodes I think were with Barry in prison. That was just fascinating for me because it's because you see his character so out of his element, and he's trying just to keep his head down and do his time, and you see where the only thing basically he looks forward to is his visits with Iris, and just all of that. I think that was just fascinating, and just the pervasive sadness that you could just see weighing down on everyone because they were trying to help Barry and trying to get him out of jail, but nothing was working until they finally had Ralph pretend to be DeVoe and say, "I'm alive. You can't, I'm still alive. He didn't kill me, so you have to let him out of prison or whatever." But I think I actually might have liked this episode better than some of the prison stuff. Was the one episode that was all in Flash time? The one with the bomb.
Oh yeah.
And you saw him and Jesse, and all of this just kind of this entire thing took place in the matter of seconds in our time, but it was fascinating, and we got more Jake Garrick, and I was not expecting that, and it was so fascinating.
That's my favorite episode of this so far.
Yeah.
Of the season so far.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it because it brings to mind one of my favorite Flash stories written by Mark Waid in the comics, where the speed kicks on. He doesn't realize it kicks on is because there's an imminent threat to him. I find that concept fascinating to me.
Oh, okay. I think I remember what you're talking about. That's from the. Okay, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not to get too deep, but he's in a movie theater and he feels a bullet hit the back of his neck.
Right. Dad, what's been sticking out one way or the other for you for the Flash so far?
Well, I agree with what them two said about that episode, where he isn't stuck in Flash time, because that was really, I mean, I found it to be, I mean, a surprisingly good episode of Flash. But I've been getting kind of worn down by the way they have, just the way they introduce some like character flaw usually in Barry in pretty much every episode, and then it just plays out in predictable, like very, very obvious, with no subtlety whatsoever, which I guess is, I already said, but it just, it's really, really wearing me down, so, there'll be some episode where Barry has a trust issue, and some episode where he's, mad at Ralph or whatever, and it's just, they're hitting it over the head every single week. Somebody's got an issue like that, and it's just not good. I mean, maybe if they like try to like tie it to something like, hey, you went through some shit in the Speed Force, you came out too early, you're messed up, and now you're having issues. That's what's going on. Well, they made an effort to like actually give it a good reason instead of just like every single week Barry has some new character flaw that's like came out of left field. Then I might be able to be okay with it, but it's really, really, really grating on me now. Just the one we watch. I suppose it'd be, tonight or last night, the newest one, and just like, so now Barry has an issue where he like, can't deal with what happened to Ralph, and they're just going to hammer that home the entire episode, and it's everything else, he's just acting out of character every week based on whatever like goofy like thing they need him to do, and I'm just, I don't know, it's not working at all for me.
I did find it quite odd. Sorry, how he suddenly basically can't deal with the death, Ray with Ralph's death. It did feel odd to me.
See, the funny thing is that I tend to agree with what Dan was saying for the most part this season. The only one that didn't bother me that much was the dealing with grief over Ralph, because at least that one, and yes, did they hit it a little harder than they should have with what Snart's character kept having to say stuff to him throughout the whole episode. Yeah, and then although that was also echoing what Snart did to a certain extent when he was with Mick on Legends of Tomorrow as well. So it's kind of like Earth X Snart's thing, I guess. But I could understand why the what happened to Ralph should have hit him hard, because this was someone that their entire relationship was all about worrying, and him telling him that stop worrying, stop being a putz, because your life is in danger, and Ralph was legitimately freaking out and worried about it the whole time, and then he still ends up dying. So that I got that. So many other times throughout the season, I found tiresome.
Well, everything he's going through is legitimate, but none of it like actually feels like realistic, because by the time the next episode rolls around, that issue is completely done with. So like next week, he's no longer going to have any. He gets over his problems every single week. So next week he's going to have some kind of like an issue where he's like. He doesn't feel he can trust, Wells or something like that, and it's just gonna go out. He's gonna, they aren't gonna get along the whole episode, and at the end, then they'll get together, or whatever. And then the next week he'll be stressed out about something else, and it just doesn't feel whatever. It's just each thing they just try, introduce a problem, and then they have to tie a freaking bow on it at the end of every single episode. All these little psychological things that he's having, whether it's with the training or whether it's whatever, they just have to introduce it at the beginning of the episode in a very overt way, and then they have to resolve it at the end, and that's what they're doing week after week after week.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I'll give them crap for doing that per se. Yes, I'm a little reluctant to then give them shit for it's resolved, and now there's not going to be any mention of it in the following episode, because one could come up with a few other really well-regarded shows that have characters go through horrific stuff that really should be impacting them for any number of episodes later, and it almost never plays a part in any future episode. I mean, we were talking about, I mentioned Star Trek Next Generation a few moments ago, and I know, you're a big fan of it, and I'm still making my way through it. And, there's been a number of episodes where a character went through God knows what, like Picard, going through an entire lifetime or something, and it really doesn't play much of an impact in future episodes. And there's been a few episodes like that, and with Riker, and with Deanna Troi, whatever. But that show has an excuse, because it's episodic television, and there's little to no serialization there, at least at the points I'm watching. The Flash is a serialized show, so it should continue. It should play a part in future episodes. But I mean, I have to, I kind of agree. I'm not gonna disagree with you on this one.
It's not enough to ruin the show for me, but it is.
It's taken away from it, though.
It's a distraction.
Yeah.
Jason, Vicki, what do you bastards think?
Well, I think I'm going to be really mad if they don't bring Ralph back, because he's been my favorite part of this show.
He became such a delight.
Yeah, and I know there's at least one backdoor.
It's not even a backdoor, dude. It's not even a backdoor. What are you talking about? They said it. They said it. They've already told us this. That's why everyone thinking he's dead is just like, well, but the viewers already know he's not, unless they're not paying attention. If you're not paying attention, then you think he's dead. But they made a point of having DeVoe say that this body, unlike all the other ones he had taken over, was able to withstand it. Didn't die. Mm-hmm. So when I was watching, like, oh, okay, so once they defeat DeVoe, Ralph's going to come back. All the other ones will still be dead, but he's going to come back, so good.
Yeah. Another thing that stuck out to me is how they made a whole episode about how they had to be unconventional in a way to beat the Thinker. And is this their way of doing it? But if it is their way, then it kind of seems out of character to have Barry act so distraught over Ralph being gone. If this is their plan.
I don't know if they planned for Ralph for Barry to have issues with grief. I don't think that was a plan.
Right.
Because if it was a plan, well, anyway, whether Barry has a plan or not, they never seem to work anyway, as we saw by the end of this latest episode. See, something Dan was saying about what they did with Barry, it was one of the things that was kind of bothering me with a character. So let's go to Ralph. And as I've said a long time ago, I'm a huge fan of the Elongated Man. I have an Elongated Man t-shirt. I love Ralph Dibny in all forms. And even though they were doing a very different version of him here, I was still very much enjoying it. Except one thing that they did a few times this season. They seemed to it seemed like his character was progressing. And then all of a sudden, I don't. I might get killed. I'm gonna stay here, or I'm not gonna. That to me felt very
like the Breacher episode.
It just felt like, okay, we have to come up with something just to cause a conflict here, and I'm going, you've got enough conflicts here. You don't need to add this because I'm not buying it. It doesn't make any sense to me. He's already been. If he already thinks of himself as a hero, which he did just the last episode, why is he suddenly like, I'm good, just stay here? That was that they did that a few times, all the way up to him the whole, he should just kill him kind of thing. Although I'll give him credit, at least that made sense because this guy wants to kill you, so maybe you'd want to kill him. I get that, but other than that, it just it kept bothering me every time they were doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, so they feel the need to telegraph like what they're going to do, just so obvious. So obviously, I mean, they can't just have like some of the characters just be simmering in the background and then do something to surprise the audience. I mean, I think that would be a lot better. I mean, all you have to do is just have they're having their final fight with DeVoe, and then he says something to remind him of whatever the girls that he took over or whatever that would piss off Ralph, and then he just snaps and takes them out there or tries to take them out there. Yeah. That would make sense. But having them fight about it 5 times in the episode before it happened.
Yes. I totally.
It's like, here's this big belly burger. Man, I bet they had to kill 2 cows to do this. Speaking of which, I need to kill DeVoe. I mean, fuck you, the writers.
It's frustrating because on one hand, the show has come up with these great moments or scenes but then it's the stuff they kind of are filling in between, which is bugging the hell out of me. And
Yeah.
Go on, Vicky. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just kind of going off of that, that kind of made me think of the episode where Iris had Barry's powers, because I think that could have had some really good potential, but for me, it just kind of fell flat a little bit, because I don't know, she spent all this time around, the speedsters, and finally she has speed powers of her own, and she really didn't she was too busy trying to be Barry, as with superpowers, with super speed, when it would have been interesting to see how she herself, with her personality and just whatever, would have dealt with having super speed.
Right. Well, that's more that she was more trapped by the plotting of that episode, because if she's never, other than running around the track when she first gets him, she's never been out on the field, and now you're in a situation where you have to save lives, and that whole thing with the fire and the explosion, whatever. I mean, they're going to have to. She doesn't understand or know how to do certain things. She has to be talked through it. So that's kind of one of the inherent flaws of that, of how they plotted that episode. But I don't know if there would have been a way around that. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I guess that aspect of it didn't bother me. Hey, it didn't bother me as much as Iris saying "Wear Flash" all season, which
that's true. That still annoys the heck out of me.
That's you know what? That might be my least favorite thing that's ever happened on this show, even including what's her face, the one from Walking Dead, or whatever the hell her name was, or the guy whose name, the Cleometric, whatever his name was,
Tokamak.
Tokamak.
Tucker Carlson, or whatever his name was. I don't know.
It's Shade.
No.
Shade.
Oh, Shade.
Okay, it's tied with the Shade thing. I forgot about Shade. Oh my god!
Of course you did, because nothing happened in the episode.
It's interesting that you brought up the Bug-Eyed Bandit, because that was one of the things that I was thinking about, is that they've killed off so many potentially good villains this season. Now, why couldn't they just kill off one of the ones we don't like that are already out there? I understand it ties into the whole big plot with the dark matter. It's just like, I just saw a lot of wasted potential being thrown out the window there.
I'm sorry, I was busy jabbing my thumbs into my eyes and making them bleed while thinking about Shade. Yeah, so it's a very interesting season for me, because there's things I really, really like, and things that are, and like what you just said about the I don't know if some of them tend to be quote unquote villain of the week, some of them aren't exactly. And obviously, the whole plot is that the Thinker is going to eventually wipe them all out.
Boss Metahuman of the week.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least, from the comic book fan perspective, at least for me at least, they didn't use up any, really great characters doing that. I mean, at least a few of them I didn't know or recognize from the comics, or some lame version of something from the comics, but at least they didn't waste a really great Flash Rogue or something like that. One of the problems with the plotting of the season, which now they've rectified, we were all happy that we finally were going to have a season where you didn't have a speedster as the villain, finally, and they got an actor who pretty damn good as DeVoe and whatever. And then but then that whole thing where, they kill him off and they had different people as DeVoe for the next several episodes. I was kind of going, oh.
That was terrible.
It was so weird.
I'd rather have that guy back. I don't care about swapping bodies and stuff like that.
I kept thinking, can't you at least do a thing? I mean, I know this sounds trite, but at least when he's looking in a mirror or something and we see him as something like that. I don't know. It just...
Right.
I mean, obviously they didn't sign the actor to do that many episodes, whatever. So one of the really great things was, first of all, I was and I hate myself for being surprised because I should have seen it coming. I didn't know that they were going to do that to Ralph Dibny because I was just thinking it's Ralph Dibny. You can't kill Ralph Dibny, but of course he's not killing him. But once they established, I should have known. Once they established that he knows how to essentially shapeshift, go. I know Dan will say Odo here. It's like, oh, we have a way of bringing that actor back, and I'm much more enjoying their interactions now, and the villain now that he's back playing the Thinker. I think that's been great. I still think he's a great villain, and the whole husband and wife thing made it unique and interesting from the get-go. And then when we had that one episode where they reveal something about the nature of the relationship and what he's been doing to her, and what's actually a little kind of sad or tragic about it, that to me, that was one of the great reveals of the season. It's like, oh, he's really bad.
Yeah, you just brought up something to me that we're kind of like dealing with dual husband and wife teams here with the Thinker and Mechanic and the We're Flash of Barry and Iris.
Right, that's true. I hadn't thought of it that way. Maybe it's because I'm more aware of what the Mechanic does as far as her and the Thinker, and Iris is still. So she's like the dispatcher, and she called. What makes her whatever.
She hits the trouble alert.
I found it funny. Wasn't there one episode where she made a reference to her career as a reporter, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
You wrote all I remember is that you wrote a couple blogs, and you supposedly
That
did.
was actually the same. What was it? Run Iris Run.
Yeah. Her long career as a journalist. Please.
But yeah, no. Sorry, no. I wanted to touch on the thing with Marlize, his wife. That's actually been super interesting just to see how she's slowly like realizing what a monster he is, and then as you were kind of referring here, he's been basically dosing her.
Yeah. And
that's kind of just textbook, manipulative relationship, and you saw his digs at her in this week's episode,
right.
And she was like, "Oh no, you're just my assistant, go run off and let me do the actual work."
And they ended with seeing her reaction and the little I think she had a tear, so it'll be interesting. Although with all it's no longer going to be a matter of the dosing, whatever, she may come to these realizations on her own without him being aware of it, even though he's a Thinker, he should be aware of everything. But, I'm finding that dynamic very interesting. I do hope, though, that when we get to whatever the finale is, that I feel like they're setting up like she's going to be his ultimate downfall then.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's one.
It'll be the thing he doesn't see coming.
Yeah. Oh, boy. God damn them.
Ralph returning and her turning on him.
Yeah. I feel like that might be where they're going to end up going here. Hey, but it was great to see Siren X in that episode. I so much like her better when she as a bad guy than I ever did. I know I've said that before, but I really...
Oh, I'm so happy to see Colt again.
Oh, I know in the episode descriptions they referred to him that way. In the episode, Jason, I'll just ask you really quickly, and then we'll move on. Did they refer to him as Citizen Cold at any point in this episode?
Not that I recall.
Okay, because in the descriptions of the episode, they did, because that's who his character actually is. I'm just curious if they had said it in the episode because I didn't catch it. I feel like there's one or two other things we should mention here. Oh, the Wells stuff. We haven't talked about the Wells thing.
Yeah, that's...
Wells with the classic Thinker hat.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and Wells hanging out with Cecile.
Let's say that again? I missed that.
And Wells hanging out with Cecile that one episode.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, when with Cecile and her powers.
Right, because obviously a very side character, but like giving her some stuff to do, it was actually kind of fun. Yeah, I agree, and I did enjoy the reveal of what the dark matter is doing to him. How we may have a potential flowers for Algernon situation with him, which I'm kind of looking forward to. Although it was interesting, I guess I don't know if it was the episode right before or 2 episodes earlier. Yeah, the one episode it has him going into the White Room, and they play it very sinister. And I remember going, "Wait, is Wells just? Are they going to do a Wells bad guy thing yet again? How does that work?" So they kind of a slight red herring there, but I like the stuff with him and Cisco this week. I actually felt that was a little bit that was earned. I thought that worked.
It'd been a while since we've seen Gideon, right?
Yeah.
That Gideon.
Right. Yeah, I know. I was about to say, like, it bothers me.
I had the same thought you did. I was like, "Oh, hey, what's this all about?" Having flashbacks to season 1, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what I really, really love this show."
Oh man, we didn't talk about the sad thing with Gideon and Rip Hunter in Legends before. That was really anyway.
There's a couple of things missing.
Yeah.
With Legends, Run Berry Run, Mini Grod.
Yeah.
Oh.
We got to hear Run Berry Run to Barack Obama. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Barack Obama. That's right. Oh my god. They might have. I think they handled Grodd better this season on Legends than his last appearance or 2 on The Flash, actually. So, you see.
I kind of hope all these shows, like, every now and then, they'll just, like, at least once a season, they'll just go, like, talk something out with Obama and then just wipe his memory and then do that. It'd be funny if they made that into a running gag.
That would be pretty funny. She goes back to talk to Obama. So ridiculous. And that actor, he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad.
Oh, he did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good Canadian Obama.
Canadian Obama.
All right. I'm trying to give the damn show props, because we bashed it so much for that. We consciously decided to even just skip over the whole Elvis thing. Ugh. God. Worst Elvis.
The one clunker.
Worst.
The one clunker.
But you'd think that would have been the easiest one. Anyway. We're supposed to be talking about the Flash now.
Yeah, you said touch a couple things, and then I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
Like I usually do.
It don't matter. Anything else about the season on the Flash? I've enjoyed the Killer Frost stuff. Actually, we've kind of forgot to mention her. So, come on.
I've got a couple things, and they're just minor. Number one is going back to the Flash Time episode. It's like I feel like they just have John Wesley Shipp show up just so he could leave again every single year. It's like a tradition with this show now. I have one more excuse why he can't be on the show.
Well, he's busy with his Twitter feed,
Yeah, I guess.
I think I'd rather have him on the show than Jay and Silent Bob, so fuck that.
Oh,
that was really meta in the fact that Jay is shouting, "We need jobs." We need the job, man.
That was, yeah.
That's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't hate it, but I was kind of like, all right. Enough.
It was a joke that went on too long.
Yes. Yeah.
At first, it was like, cool, it's Jay and Silent Bob, and it just like, then they came back. I was like, okay, that's too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, if Hitchcock wants to be indulgent and put himself in his own movie, that's fine, but Kevin Smith hasn't fucking earned that, so okay, enjoy your 5 seconds of fame. So.
Anyhow.
I've got...
Go on.
You going to talk about the coffee barista?
Oh God, that they haven't shown her again for the last several episodes. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, who do you think it is?
Oh, I'm 99% sure I know who it is.
It could be a couple. It could be a couple things.
Oh, I think it's only one, but ask. Well, okay. Are you asking just in general what people think? Or are you asking based on any quote unquote supposed comic book knowledge? Which I have a slight modicum of on this one.
A little of both.
Well,
there's an easy answer, and then there's a far out answer.
Well, ask Vicki and Dan, and I'll respond after.
All right, Vicki and Dan.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about this.
They might not even remember what we're talking about. Wait, Vicki, you do.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know anything about DC. So
okay.
Well, but okay, but forget the DC stuff because this is only stuff I'll tell you right now because I have massive gaps in what I have or haven't read. I know something of it, but I've never read any of those stories. But I'm aware of it, so it's like I have slight knowledge on it, but very. Like I read a paragraph somewhere once upon a time and I remembered it or something like that. But if just I think for the way the show, thinking about how the show is, and you've got characters that can move back and forth through time, then you got to figure out who she might be, and especially the way she was acting when she was interacting with them at the coffee house.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky?
No,
Let Vicky talk.
Yeah.
Vicky,
basically, obviously I don't really know much about DC from the comics, but I'm like, it's their daughter. It's Barry and Iris' daughter or something like that.
That's the easy answer.
All right, give us the complicated one.
The more complicated one is maybe further along in time.
Like you're going with the you only went to granddaughter. I thought you were going to go
granddaughter, or maybe even further in the future as well.
I thought you were going to go like Zoom era and beyond kind of a thing. I mean,
yeah,
there's not Zoom.
Female Booster Gold.
No. More like Barry and Iris' granddaughter.
How? By the way, since Dan just mentioned Booster Gold, how is it possible that neither The Flash nor Legends of Tomorrow have found a way to get Booster Gold in there? Because he's such a goofy, over-the-top character who's all about zipping back and forth through time and being kind of a silly and a jackass. He would fit right in on either of these shows. How have they not done that? I'm kind of shocked by that. But,
well, you know why? Because movies won't let him have him.
Oh, they're not going to feature his Booster Gold in any movie. That's never going to happen.
They're not going to make a movie of him, but they're not letting him have him either, which is a shame.
DC says for douchebags. Anyway, go on, Vicky. I heard you.
Okay, so sorry, this is kind of related to that, but speaking, people who should be on Flash or whatever, but my sister and I were talking about this, and why don't they just zip over and recruit Supergirl for help with DeVoe? Because I don't think he would see that coming.
Yeah, if you're going to go through the trouble of bringing Snart in.
I mean, logistics aside, but I mean, like, seriously, DeVoe probably wouldn't see that coming.
Well, you're right, but there's also, fortunately or unfortunately, and these shows have broken it a little bit occasionally. I'll give them credit for doing that. Whether you have movies or TV shows, when you have like a universe of superhero characters, you're always going to have that situation like, well, if so-and-so just, if Ollie just called Barry, he could just like run through the entire city and just catch everybody for him, like, or something, and so on and so on and so on. And I have an issue about that, which when me and you talk about Supergirl, but we'll wait till get there. It's like, because apparently Superman doesn't care about, the what's going to happen.
It's the Superman problem. It's the Superman problem, Supergirl, that they had at the end of season 1.
Stupid cousins help.
No, why
he just had his boots.
Yeah, okay, let's save it for the Supergirl section. Anyway, what were you saying? Go on. Sorry.
But I was going to say that it could be like Barry and Iris' granddaughter from the far future,
right? With
Legion of Superheroes, or go even further off the books, it could be a female version of Impulse.
Oh, was there ever a female version of Impulse?
No, there wasn't.
But then again, they've switched genders on a bunch of different characters on these shows, so that I can see them doing that.
Exactly.
I can see that. I think sometimes the most obvious answer is the answer, and I think it's good. I think it's a daughter thing, but it could be granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely,
We'll just have to wait and see.
Definitely a descendant of some kind. So
something else DeVoe doesn't see.
Oh, because if they went to the trouble of introducing that showing her, you got to think they're going to bring her back at some point. Because otherwise, what the hell is the point of doing that? So maybe that could be a factor later on. I don't know.
Could be the introduction to season 5.
Why don't they're able to contact people on the wave right every once in a while? Why don't they contact them to go back in time? Anyway, oh, that's right. Oh, right. No, I forgot Barry's rule. No more going back in time to change things, since all he does is screw things up that way.
Yes.
The flashpoint that lasted an entire episode.
Yes.
Why am I talking about all the things I hate now about this? Oh, and the whole thing with the Kevin Smith directed episode with Breacher was stupid. Anyway, anything else about the Flash before we move on?
No, I've run through my notes.
Although it seems like we have a bunch of issues, are we still essentially liking this season? Do we think it's an improvement? Or some of the things which pretty much, I think what everyone said so far all has definite validity to it. Does it take? I mean, it's definitely taking away from it to a certain extent, but are we still enjoying it regardless?
Yeah, I'm still liking it. I'm enjoying the fact that it's not a speedster.
Yeah.
Related villain like the past 3 years, and the fact that Barry's solution is that he just doesn't have to run faster. That's not his solution this time. Except for that one episode where they kept trying to blip in time and stuff like that, or whatever he was doing with Cisco.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying. It's not Barry has to run faster. That's not the solution for a change. Instead, they've got to think. They got to think around it for the thinker. Right. Wow, that was really stupid of me.
The one thing I am hoping, though, and I hope this every damn season for this show, next season, please do the Rogues justice and make them part of this, because they've done a few well. They've dropped the ball tremendously with a few of them, but you know what? You can still redeem the ones that you've messed up. You can make them good again. You can make Mirror Master good if you try. Probably
yes.
Not. You've got to, and if you can't, take one from another Earth or something. I don't know how you have to do it. But
yes.
Because
Abracadabra was great. Why can't we have him back?
There's there's several that they've done well, and there's several that they've really missed the mark with, and I believe there's still a few they haven't done yet. Which if I felt we had more time, I'd sit here and ponder, but I don't feel like trying to do that right now. Jason, you just pipe in with them during the rest of the podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah, I will.
I know you're looking them up right now. It's but some of them are why haven't we seen them in a while? Because, I know this storyline right now, they've it's because it's the bus meta of the week, as you said before. So therefore, there's not room to have the Pied Piper return or something like that, or
Weather Wizard.
Weather Wizard is okay.
Trickster. We didn't get a Trickster episode this year.
Well, he was busy with the whole Star Wars thing, so that probably was a factor. But I really I actually enjoyed the whole Pied Piper stuff. They should bring him back so they can make more Harry Potter jokes and stuff. Because he looks like. All right. So we still got a few more episodes to go. We'll see how it all pans out. Although it seems like they may be going down a predictable path, but hopefully they'll take a left turn. We'll be wrong about something here, but we'll see what happens.
Are they going to outthink us? There we go.
Oh boy. I don't know if that qualifies as a dad joke, but it certainly is bad enough to be one. Okay, so all right. We've covered Legends. We've covered Flash. I think at this point, Dan, you haven't really gotten a chance to see anything else. Is that correct?
Correct.
So are you hanging, or are we going to be bidding you adieu now?
I'll bail out, but I don't. But since I'm dumb and I made the call, I don't think I can leave. So I think I just have to mute it for the next several hours.
Oh, the wonders of Skype. You know what's really bad?
Yep.
I can hear across the room that I'm getting messages on my phone about something which I can't talk about on this podcast, and I'm dying to go over and look, but I can't. Anyway, god damn it. All right, well, enjoy Mute Land.
Yes.
Now we're gonna have our big Ready Player One conversation. No, actually, we are now. I think it's just Vicki. I think it's just gonna be you and I at this point, and we're gonna chat a little bit about Arrow.
Yeah, I'm going to Mute Land too for a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to say goodbye. It's been nice talking to you guys again, Vicki and Scott. Have a good night. Bye,
Okay,
Jason.
so is
Bye,
now
Dan.
is now the part where you're gonna put in the music, or would it have been before? Because when Jason started talking,
It's fine.
I'm gonna be quiet for 5 seconds and put the music here. And there was the music. So Vicki, what are your thoughts so far on how Arrow's been going for the past few months?
It's been interesting. I don't. It's been a little bit mixed for me. It's kind of been very fascinating to see the team first, split into two and then basically completely fall apart. Where, whole first starting with, Renee was the one who was going to be testifying against Oliver, and then that just spreading out from there. And then my biggest, I don't know, just, it's, I don't really know what to think of this season.
Well,
It's been kind of bananas. Because, Kate James was basically set up as the big villain for the episode, then bringing in the others as kind of his, to round out this, cabal or whatever. And then, Diaz just straight up kills him
right.
and takes over as the big bad, and gosh, is he a psycho.
Yeah. Okay. There are things I'm really enjoying about this season, and there are things that I grew kind of tired of pretty quickly. It's interesting because you have your team Arrow, and how we watched that team fall apart and basically, either be into two teams, then a smaller team, then three, then two, then one, then there's no team. And then you had the Cabal, which was, kind of like a team,
Yeah.
And then we saw that kind of guy yeah, we're going to blow that up too. And they're, going to kill him, then he kills her, and then he gets arrested, and now it's just, it's just Diaz but, Laurel Lance is still with him, whatever, which that one kind of came out of left field.
Yeah.
I'll say what I'm liking first. Actually, I just said what I didn't like about it, actually, so it's too late for that. One of the things I am enjoying about the season is the upgrade in actors that they've gotten, as far as the villains are concerned. I mean, obviously, we had Michael Emerson for X number of episodes.
Oh yeah.
And either if you're a Lost fan or a Person of Interest fan or any number of other things Michael Emerson's done, he's a quality actor, and his character was, to a certain extent, it felt like a little bit of a riff or a cross of a couple of his other iconic TV characters. He had a little bit of Benjamin Linus and a lot of the person of interest character, Finch he played, whatever, kind of wrapped up into one character there. But I enjoyed him. But also Kirk Acevedo, finally a name I didn't have to go look up because I just know who it is, playing Diaz. He's a good actor. He's been around. I've been watching him, and I've enjoyed him for like 20 years. So he was everything from Oz to Band of Brothers to a number of other things. He's on Fringe, a number of other things. So he's really good too. And the rest of them, the fact that Katie Cassidy is so much more interesting as the bad girl than she ever was as, just plain old Laurel Lance, or Earth One Laurel Lance. So I've kind of, that's the villain stuff I've actually enjoyed. I've liked that. And I can't always say that about Arrow. The stuff with the team and the constant and the two teams and whatever, I found a little tiresome. I'm still never been a Renee fan. And I still don't think they've ever really fleshed out or given the new Black Canary enough of a character to really for it to be a satisfying payoff for her ever. I mean, she went from being nothing to she's just angry all the time because whatever and vengeful.
That irked me.
It's a shame because it's lost potential. And it's just funny on this show. It's like they keep downgrading the Black Canaries on this show. Because first you had Sarah Lance. It's like, she's a pretty good Black Canary. Nah, good. Then you had Laurel Lance. Oh, she's not as good, but she's good. Now you have this one. It's like,
Sarah definitely was the best Black Canary.
Yeah, I think that they've gotten less interesting. I mean, the only thing that's good about it is like she doesn't look weird when she does the siren cry. Actually, they all look good when they do that now. No one looks weird anymore. That's a nice change of pace.
It was interesting to kind of see the history with Vince and Dinah, but I don't know. I don't think I would have trusted him at all if I were her. But I mean,
Which part are you talking about? Remind me.
We kind of got the whole backstory of how like they first met and all of that through basically where the day of the explosion and how
it's because he referred to him by his actual name and I totally forgot what his name was.
Yeah.
Okay, I know. Okay, the guy who was Vigilante. Got it. Okay, right. Also, but the least interesting of the actors in that thing. I mean, he's cool. He's cool in the outfit doing what he does, but other than that, he was kind of a bore. And so whenever they had those scenes with the two of them together, having I was always like, can we move on to something else? I just don't care. Because I got confused because I thought they did a change of pace episode very recently, the Dragon episode.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that one a lot. And
it was fascinating because like I think like maybe halfway through the episode I was like, we haven't seen like really anything of Oliver or the Green Arrow.
No, he only shows up at the end. Other than the little thing on the TV screen, yeah.
Because most of the time it's focused on Oliver. Well, because he's kind of the main character, but it gave us different perspective of things, and basically got Diaz's back. It was focusing more on him and his evil machinations and psychoticness.
Right. Because I know there have been some viewers out there who are kind of like they don't think much of Diaz as being the big bad. Like, really, he can't handle him, and it's like, well, I don't have a problem with that because I'm sorry, characters like Green Arrow, kind of goes like it's the Batman concept and whatever. It's like the people they're most likely to be fighting are not like superpowered metas or demons or anything like that. It's usually big deal crime lords. And I feel what with this character and what he's done from the moment he killed Caden James and then we saw just how much influence he has, and what he's done, and how he's corrupted so many aspects of the city. It's like, okay, he's a big deal because it's not like you can just go and arrest him, you know. I personally think they've done a good job at that. That's been one of the things I've really liked about the season. I think they've really done a good job with that. There's a lot of things I like about the season. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, it's been fascinating just to see how he infiltrated his way into the legal system. First, getting the DA and the new police chief, and basically he owns the police force now and the justice system. So it's just making it that much harder to try and get him, because there was the episode where they had all this evidence against him, and they're like, oh no, this technicality that we found because our skins depend on it, and just leading all to this leading to this impeachment of Oliver.
Right. I think they've really done a nice job of really boxing in the situation for Oliver Queen / Green Arrow, and how limited his options are, and that's been what I've kind of enjoyed about this. I buy this more for a character like Green Arrow than the Ra's al Ghul stuff, or the Damien Goodlord, the Damien Dark stuff, or whatever. This seems more like a likely opponent that makes sense to me, and the fact that he can't just bing with an arrow and be able to be done with it, and it's not because the guy's got any sort of superpowers. It's because it's not that simple, and what he's done is really he's infested the city, and that's the stuff I've really enjoyed. I mean, I kind of wish there had never been the William factor in the show. The kid thing kind of always falls flat for me, but we're stuck with it, and so I don't know what to do about that. So because I'm sure they're not going to kill the kid off ever. So I'd be okay with that. But the stuff with the team, and because they had, how many times did we get to have that scene where they start sniping and bitching about what Ollie did and not trusting them? It's like that was enough already. That's a habit that show has, is like they kind of repeat things over and over. It's like yeah, enough already.
It is.
It's kind of tiresome. Quite frankly, I would have been happy if the show was to rebuild itself, and if the team could just be, if you're going to have a team, let it be Ollie, let it be Felicity, bring back Diggle, of course. Hey, if he's willing to come back, bring back Colton Haynes as Speedy, since you seem to be determined not to ever give Willa Holland the chance to be. And I don't know what goes on beyond the scenes. So I don't want to make the assumption that that's their choice. It may be her choice. She might not want to commit to the show fully or something. I don't know. But it's a shame, because I would have really enjoyed. I had no problem with her as Speedy. Once they finally brought her back to get in the outfit, I was like, oh yeah, this is great, because he actually calls her Speedy, and that's the classic combo was Green Arrow and Speedy back in the 40s or whatever. And then it's like, oh no, now you're gonna go roam around the world to find the Lazarus pits or whatever the heck it was or something. But they kind of wasted her to begin with. So, yeah. But I mean, I've redundancies in storyline aside, I've really kind of been enjoying the season otherwise. I think some of the things I can see definite improvements. When there's been things dealing with flashbacks, there hasn't been that many of them, and they've been integral to the actual episode as opposed to what they did for the previous 5 seasons. So I think we're kind of happy about that. We got away from that stupid flashback format for every single episode. So I like that. I feel like there's one other big thing I wanted to mention. I think I think more often than not they've done a somewhat better job with the fighting scenes. They've actually had some good fighting scenes. Sometimes they still fall into the, hey, it'd be cool if we just keep spinning the camera around. And it's like, no, that's not cool. That's stupid. Whatever. Is there anything else standing out about it, good or bad, for you so far?
Yeah, this is kind of maybe just me, but my biggest kind of, I don't know, this is something that really kind of bothered me was the whole footage thing with Kate and James. Okay, they showed us this evidence that he had, and you look at it, it kind of it's like you look at that, I'm like, it just bothered me. I'm like, it's the worst kind of security footage, and this makes you go on a murderous rampage to destroy an entire city.
Yeah, when we finally get to what the ultimate motivation is and what fueled it, I was kind of like, yeah. And I hate to say it, not the first time the show has gone down that road. Because wasn't that the whole thing the previous season, where everything that what was this? Was he calling himself Prometheus?
Yeah.
Which annoys me because he's nothing like the actual Prometheus, but whatever. Comic books. But that was all fueled because Ali, had killed his father or something, and now everything is fueled because he thought Ali killed his son, even though it doesn't really make any sense, and he was tricked by something kind of. That's it. That's all you went on. Yeah, I agree with you on that. That was kind of disappointing.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Speaking of Prometheus, it was in the episode the other week. I thought that was pretty interesting to have Prometheus be part of his hallucination when he got dosed with vertigo, to be that voice in his head, and so that was really interesting to me.
I actually enjoyed the use of that character there. I like that. I like that as well.
I fully admit, for a second they had me fooled. I'm like, what the heck? How is he still alive?
Yeah, I had about 10 seconds of, wait, what? Didn't he shoot himself right in front of him? How does he? Even a Lazarus pit can't. Wait, oh, maybe it can. Then it's like, oh no, he's having.
Yeah, he's hallucinating.
He's hallucinating. But yeah, but I'm kind of on board with it. I'm enjoying it. I just wish they could just make up their mind with the whole Team Arrow thing and just be done with it already.
Yeah.
And
yeah, as much as I have enjoyed having these other characters on the team, but yeah, like you were saying, it's just the constant, okay, yeah, we're a team. No, we're not. We're we're separate, but we'll maybe work together. No, I'm never working with you. And it's a little too much. It's too repetitive, like you were saying.
Yeah, I'm really, look, I already said what I said about Mad Dog and Black Canary. And I like Curtis as a character. I've never really loved him as quote-unquote Mr. Terrific because he's more like Mr. Terrific light, if anything. But I'd like to keep his character around at least.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because he has the company, Felicity and all of that.
There's a way you can keep, and he's got a bit more of a personality compared to the other two, where you've got the other two are like angry and grumpy all the time. I don't care about enough. So we'll see. I'm personally why both this and Flash have to have this concept where it has to be a whole team behind them. I'm like, they don't really need a team behind them. Back when I read comics, I don't remember there being a Team Flash or a Team Arrow. It was the Flash and Green Arrow, and if they had a sidekick or they had they had friends, they had people who supported them, but they didn't have this whole freaking lair where they had a whole team of people working on their behalf. It's like, no, it's not. But whatever. That bugs me a little bit, but not that much because if I like the actors or the characters, I don't mind it. But it's like, enough. It's too many people. Get rid of them. Enough. The only one I liked, you got rid of was Ragman. Like, I love Ragman, and then he's gone. Although he didn't really fit quite on the show, but I don't care. I still like him. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I think we're still generally enjoying the show. It feels like it's kind of like that and the Flash have that in common. Like there's issues or problems, but I think overall I think the storylines are as good, if not better, than the previous one. And the issues I have with it, I hopefully will be lesser by the time we get to the end. I think both these shows really need to pull off a really good finale, just for me to go, okay, I'm satisfied. If they don't stick the landing or drop the ball or whatever phrase you want to use at the end is, then it'd be kind of disappointing. But hopefully both these shows pull it off.
Yeah.
So, getting to our next show that we like to talk about here, which will also be just me and you again, would be the Maid of Might, Supergirl. Now, we probably won't have quite as much to say about Supergirl, since Supergirl had such an extended hiatus to make room for Legends of Tomorrow. So there's only been a few episodes since the big crossover, as far as I can recall. But they have they just had a couple that aired in the last couple of weeks, certainly, and there were a few way back when that have certainly made an impact. I know how I feel about it, but I'm more interested in hearing what your take on Supergirl is, because I know this is a show that you really want it to be good. So
yeah,
how are you feeling about it so far?
Yeah, no, I think you probably I'm sure you saw what I had posted the other week, but I was just like, I'm so glad to have this show back, because just like it makes me happy to watch it.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's really good. I like the introduction of Brainiac. I think he's a great character. And I remember the actor who plays him from that one sci-fi show, Defiant, I think it was. He was really good. I like him. So I was glad to see him.
Wait. Which character are you talking about?
Brainiac.
Brainiac? Oh, Brainiac 5. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
Brainiac 5. You
got to be special. Because not only is there a difference between Brainiac and Brainiac 5, we've got two different shows. One has Brainiac and Brainiac 5. So I was like, wait, did she just start talking about Krypton? What the hell is she talking about? Okay, Brainiac 5. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. The Legionnaire. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And when in that same episode where we first met Brainiac 5, where John is pretending to be Kara.
Oh, wow.
That made me laugh so hard, because first of all, he can't just talk like a normal human, and second of all, he cannot forget his male mannerisms.
I love whenever they make John basically take the form of one of the female characters on the show.
Oh, bless him. But yeah. So and again, I think I've mentioned this before. I'm enjoying the rain stuff. And how the whole. I enjoy how this show doesn't. I mean, this isn't really something we have on the other shows. There aren't a whole lot of female, villains on the other shows. Whereas, this show definitely has its share of female villains, which I really like.
But yeah, if you take Katie Cassidy out of the mix, they hardly have any female villains on the other shows, right?
Yeah.
They just keep going to her. Like, there's like in 1 week we have two different versions of the same villain played by Katie Cassidy on two different shows, right? Because you have Black Siren on one and Siren X on the other. Anyway, go on.
Exactly. So I really enjoyed the episode where it was like Supergirl, and Imra and Livewire and Psy, and they had to go to the place to talk to the priestess, for before Rain got to her,
Right.
and yeah.
Was that when they went to go? Was that the one where it turned out to be Sarah Douglas, the actress Sarah Douglas? I think it is.
I think so.
Which again, yet another nod to the Superman movies because she was, Ursa in Superman and Superman 2, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, I like the Rain stuff. It's interesting. I like the whole alter ego not being aware of what's happening to her thing, because it gives her a certain level of tragedy, which makes it kind of interesting as well. I think the Melissa Benoist. I think she's been steadily getting better on the show. At least the last handful of episodes, I think she's been better. I want them to get away from the moping about Mon-El stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel some of this we already talked about in a previous podcast where I got really frustrated. But this is actually going to lead into my continuing criticism. My first criticism, which I said months ago, was the whole I don't know how I have to be an alien. I can't be a human, and I can't be whatever. I can only be Supergirl. I can't be whatever. Made no sense.
Yeah.
It made no sense because hello. One text to your cousin who's been doing this, who can say like, no, that's not true. So you ever hear of Clark Kent? Ever hear of Lois Lane? What are you talking about? So that really, I thought the writers really dropped the ball there because it's too obvious a thing. I can't believe anyone watching who's heard of Superman wouldn't say, well, why wouldn't she go to her fellow Kryptonian, and how do you balance that didn't make any sense to me. It felt like they just were trying to force something just to give us some sort of conflict with her character, and which I just wasn't buying. And go on.
I know how they want to emphasize the relationship with her and Alex, because they're adoptive sisters and all that, but yeah, also Clark has a lot more experience with this kind of thing, obviously, than Alex ever would, so he would be able to counsel her on that. So yeah, it could be solved. They don't have to have, Tyler Hoechlin, they don't have to bring him back or whatever, but like you said, it can just be a text message or email or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand there's a fear that some might have that, okay, this show is about Supergirl. She's that's who it's about. So we don't want to be going to there. It's like, well, I get that, but here's the problem. Number one, sorry, you opened that door. You opened the door by having it be introducing that character, and I guess it would have been silly not to, because whatever. And now you have to keep and for that, I felt there was no excuse. It was like, it would have made sense. In fact, it probably would have been a really great scene because, her being able to talk to someone who's the only person who could probably really understand her situation to that extent. It irked me so much.
Yeah.
Which then takes me to my current irkedness. I'm sorry. The entire storyline for the season, which is about these world killers, right? And you get Rain, and then they're looking for the pestilence, and the other one, and this, that, and the other thing, and and they're talking about how it's going to, and you brought in the Legion of superheroes, or at least 3 of them, even though one of them is kind of they really did not do a good job with the Irma character. I think they should have made her a lot more interesting. She's a much more interesting character comic book wise. I think they kind of dropped the ball there. I mean, she's very pretty, but that should not have been why you cast her. They should have cast someone. Should have given her more substance to work with there. I'm sorry. How is it Superman would not get involved or be contacted when the entire Earth is at stake? Not just, I get it's your city and whatever. It's you can have...
But yeah, when this is something affecting the entire planet. you need to bring in all your guns.
I mean, I get it's a Supergirl show. I'm not denying that, but that's just stupid. I'm on Arrow on a couple different, at least 2 times I can remember, maybe 3. They did a little thing where they had a Flash, or kind of run in to help them with something, then run out.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah, literally, yeah.
Which we enjoyed, because that would be a comment we would make. Hey, there's the Flash. Why wouldn't he? Oh, the writers actually had that thought also. Good for them. But this, I mean, you can have him on it. You can still have it be her. She's at the center of the battle. She's the one fighting Rain. Whatever. I get that. But why wouldn't you have Superman? It really bothers me.
Come back, Tyler Hoechlin. Seriously though, he's like one of the best Supermen in recent years.
Now I'm going out on a limb. I'm still thinking he might still show up on the show, maybe just in the final episode or something. Because if he doesn't, and there's no mention of him at all, I'm gonna be like, wait, what? What? That makes no sense. That just irritates me. Especially when the threat might not just be one person, it's a few of them. They're like, okay, yeah, you got the Legion, whatever. Oh, and I like seeing Mon-El in his actual outfit. That was very cool, because that looked very similar to the actual Mon-El outfit from the comic book. So I enjoyed that more than just hanging out in a freaking jacket and T-shirt all the time and stuff. I really enjoyed the Toyman episode.
Oh my gosh, that was that. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I'm like, that was a great episode for Win.
Yes, exactly. Because he was one of those characters I really like, but I feel has not been getting that much to do. He's just become the couple witty line thing.
Yeah, and the tech whatever person. Yeah, he gets shoved to the side a lot.
Right, because he doesn't even get as much to do as, like, say, he's no Cisco.
Exactly.
But I thought that was I was a little disappointed that they, quote unquote, killed off the Toyman, because we only got him in one other episode, and it was a decent actor who played him. But I still liked what they did in this episode, and plus they had Laurie Metcalf on the episode, and very high quality actress. I read the whole article about, I think it's her daughter, or who's a big fan of the show, and that's essentially what led to her appearing on the show. It's because
that's really cool. I like that.
So I really got a kick out of that. And just those just an overall, it's just a really nice episode. Hey, and for any toy collector out there, when you had the moment where Supergirl is actually trapped in packaging.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, mint in box. I was thinking I was watching that. But I'm kind of enjoying this so far. They and so far in the couple that they've come back with, it feels like we've gotten away from some of the storylines which were kind of dragging, like the stuff with Alex and what's her name?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's you know what I mean. And I'm
the fiance.
Yeah, and only because I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, enough of this. And I would say that about any relationship. It has nothing to do with the nature of that. Just like, oh, okay, enough already. I like that they've kind of, to a certain extent, kind of almost replaced that in the episode space with stuff with John and his father.
Yes, I was going to mention that too. It's been really great to see the stuff between John and his father, and obviously the whole losing basically control of his mind and equating he has the Martian equivalent of Alzheimer's, because that can be such a hard thing to have to deal with a parent that's aging or whatever. And
yeah, I really, I mean, it's a sad and tragic thing to deal with, and I like that they came up with kind of an original idea to kind of, off of that, come up with something that also would pose a threat to everybody else, and how it was his mental abilities were affecting everyone around him, which made for some kind of interesting little fight scenes there.
Yeah.
Plus, I've always liked Carl Lumbly. He's been around for a long time. I like him going all the way back to Cagney and Lacey because I'm old. And of course, as I've mentioned before, he's got a huge Martian Manhunter connection because he was the voice of Martian Manhunter on the cartoons. So, but I also like because they've kind of softened up John a lot. And I think
it gives his character more dimension.
That's exactly the phrase I was going to say. Gives him more dimension, and this stuff I'm believing more and enjoying more than the stuff with the female Martian who I always was like, wait, does he like her like a girlfriend like her, or because I thought it was like a daughter kind of thing because they look like there's a pretty big gap in age there. So I'm really enjoying that. Yeah, it's been pretty good. I'm kind of curious to see where they go with it.
Maggie, that was her name, Maggie.
Oh, by the way, just for comic book geekiness, because that's the nature of this podcast. The whole thing with them talking about John's quote unquote imaginary friend, and they use the name Zook as being this interdimensional imp. There was a Zook in the. I mean, you have to go back a while ago in the comics, but there was like a little character called Zook that was some sort of impish character. I have a funny feeling someone who's on mute might now almost wants to chime in and say, "Oh yeah, there's a Zook." If Cade was here, he certainly would. I know that.
I actually don't know it. I'm sorry.
All right, go away. That's something for you to Google. But other than that, I'm kind of enjoying the show a lot more than I thought I would. It's still a show where I think they kind of search to give certain characters something to do. Jimmy Olsen, because now his function on the show seems to be, "Where's Lena? Where's Lena? Where's Lena?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, on that note, it's been interesting to get her involved with the whole Rain thing because she, basically, like realized that Sam is Rain and that was pretty powerful in the last episode where Sam realizes that she is Rain too when Lena played back the footage.
Right. And I feel she can get away with what she's doing, i.e. keeping it a secret, because this kind of almost plays into the whole, even if she's not evil, she's still a Luthor, which means she's secretive, because you'd think she would contact the organization, with Supergirl and all them, because, they're pretty high-tech as well, and this might be something they'd want to know, but I know it's because I'm protecting my friend, whatever, but
yeah,
I'm just worried that how good is that little cell that you've built? Because I keep thinking Rain's gonna be able to break out of that if she becomes full Rain or something. That's probably what's gonna end up happening. Actually, come on, we all know it's
I'm sure that's what will happen.
Because Lena Luthor, she's like she's gonna rent out her stuff to Argus or something now. But other than that, yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the show. We'll see what they do. We'll see if they decide to call a cousin or not, or if they decide not to. I mean, I won't hate the show if they don't, but it seems ludicrous to me that they wouldn't do that. That she wouldn't even, or come up with some excuse, even though I can't think of what the excuse would be.
Yeah, I think like they said, he's off planet at one point, or yeah.
But come on, guys. We'll see. So, speaking of Kryptonians, in our remaining minutes here, because we just covered the 4 shows that we used to cover all the time for the last year or so, but there have been a couple new additions to the lineups on the CW, as well as another channel, and I'd like to at least spend a couple minutes talking about each one before we wrap it up. The first one, which I know you've watched a few episodes of, so I got to be careful about spoiling things, I guess. Is KRYPTON. So, just for a few minutes on KRYPTON, I am surprised by how much I'm enjoying KRYPTON. I went into it with a fairly healthy amount of skepticism. I've been burned before, Gotham, about shows that take place before the hero that inspired the idea came to be. I think what's making the show work for me, a few things, and feel free to chime in and agree or disagree. You've seen like the first 3, and I've seen 5, so I'm not that much ahead of you. But and we recorded the night of the newest one, so I haven't seen that one yet either, quite frankly. Number 1, I think the quality of the actors is a little bit better than I was expecting them to have. I really think the actors are are solid, especially the older actors we will recognize from any number of other TV shows, be it British or not, because apparently just like ancient Rome, everyone in outer space and aliens tends to be British. But I've really and I think that's really helped the show have a bit more gravitas to it, so to speak. And I like the overall. I mean, there's a lot of things going on the show, but the overall, knowing that the overall threat is the actual Brainiac is coming, and we've seen little glimpses, and now we're dying to see him like really in full blown scenes. But that's about as iconic a Superman villain as there is outside of Lex Luthor himself. And I personally have been waiting a very long time to see a decent Brainiac. They have not done Brainiac in any of the movies, though there's always rumors, but they never do it. They did an exceedingly lame version of Brainiac on Smallville, which, although I love the actor who played him, I kept being annoyed about it. It's like, this is not remotely Brainiac, it's just horrible. And that's like a huge, massive, galactic threat that's coming. And those of us who know, or have even a little bit of knowledge about Superman, know what it is that Brainiac does on Krypton. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out on the TV show, because that's not something I think they can change. That's too big a thing to change. Have we talked about this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
And I am talking too much right now, I realize, so I'll shut up in a second. Well, one of the very first things we ever, even if you go back to the 1950s, one of the very first things we learn about Brainiac is, because he was a collector, and he was collecting societies and cities, and he would like miniaturize them and keep them in bottles. And what he was known for was that he had captured or collected the city of Kandor, which then, fast forward, ends up being in Superman's Fortress of Solitude. So, and I think they did that in the cartoons. I believe they did that, the city of Kandor, in the Superman cartoon. I don't know if they featured in the Justice League cartoon as well for some reason, but I know it was in the Superman cartoon. Because it was shrunk down by Brainiac, and there was no way, and they never, at least back when I was reading comics, they never figured out a way to make it, enlarge it again. I don't know how they would have done that, I guess. So the story is, well, Brainiac is going to take this, is going to do this. He is going to capture Kandor. I can't see how they change. I just feel like that's too big a thing to change. But maybe they will. I don't know. It seems like everyone's living there, so I don't know what they're going to do. But it makes me very curious, because I'm like, how are they gonna not do that? Because that's kind of a big thing, That's anyway. I know you've only seen a few episodes, and I think you've only been kind of half watching it. But is there anything that you remember that you've either liked or disliked about the show so far?
Yeah. So I will fully admit, I prejudged the show based on like some stills I saw and like some like super modern like Earth clothing, and well, that kind of still irks me. Because I know I'm into costuming, and I've got my things about that. I am enjoying it more than I expected to.
The clothing thing, I think, only really applies to one character, and they've kind of made fun. I mean, the Adam Strange character is the one that bothers me. Bothers me more because I'm a fan of the character Adam Strange. They're not really. This guy. I mean, this guy's fine. He's not really making me think Adam Strange at all, but I didn't expect him to. Adam Strange, depending on what era we're talking about, was always known for wearing some really sophisticated, basically like a jumpsuit. The original Adam Strange had a big fin on his head, with a red and white, thing where you zip around with a jetpack, whatever. But it's a very retro look. It's a very Rocketeer kind of look without the face mask kind of a thing. And then in more recent years, they gave him a bit more of a almost armored, almost Mighty Morphin Power Ranger-like look to him, kind of. But kind of building off of that. I get why they weren't going to have him show up in a costume because he would kind of stand out. But I was going, so he just looks like some guy I might have run into at the local newsstand or something. But they did make fun of that a few times on the show, so I just kind of let it go because they were kind of trying to play up the fact he's from Earth, I guess. I just think people should have reacted more oddly to him. His outfit should have stood out that much more if you're going to do that. But he also should have known better. So I'm torn on that one. I think the look of the show otherwise is real. I really think the art direction is really nice on the show. They looks like they've spent a little bit of money here, so I think they're doing a good job with that. And I think the actor who's playing the main character, Sig, he's not bad. I mean, he's not going to get nominated for an Emmy anytime soon, but I think he's not bad.
But it's not Gotham bad.
No. And, I'm enjoying several of the other actors who I recognize from, I was like, oh, she was on a great episode of Black Mirror, or, oh, I think he might have been on Game of Thrones, I'm not sure, that kind of a thing. And there was a really massive reveal that happened last week. Do you want to know what it was?
Okay, no, I'll let you talk about it and then I'll mute it.
Okay, give me. I will promise to do it in 60 seconds or less. So just mute for whatever you want to do for a minute. I'm assuming she can't hear me. So the big reveal on the series was last week when we discovered the character who had kidnapped Seg is actually General Zod. The Zod. Not Zod's grandfather, not Zod's father, it's actually Zod. And your first question is, how is that even possible? Because I'm pretty sure Zod isn't like 300 years old, and then it looks like he might be... We don't know. I'm assuming it may get resolved in tonight's episode. We may find out in a later episode that there is some time travel situation going on here, which I wasn't expecting on Krypton. I don't know what the explanation is. I have not seen the newest episode, but I will say that was as big a shocking reveal as I was ever expecting to happen on this show, and I wasn't expecting it. So hats off to them. I'm looking forward to see how they explain this. And he's a pretty good actor, although we actually recognize him from the first season of Arrow, among other things. So, anyway, Vicki, you can come back now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm trying to remember where I know that he was on. I just don't remember this actor. He's on Arrow, but he was on something else I used to watch. I just can't think of what it was. He was like a bad guy on it. I'll look it up. I'll look it up later. Anyway, overall, I'm really impressed with what they're doing on Krypton, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they. I'm looking forward to them encountering Brainiac. Another major Superman villain is also apparently going to be part of this show. Not one I care for very much myself, but anyone who's followed Superman comics over the last, say, 25 years will know who it is. they did yet another one. They did a pretty lousy job on Smallville. So we'll see if they do. I feel like they're going to do a better job here on Krypton. I probably should have said that when I had Vicki mute, because I'm assuming she doesn't want to be spoiled on that either. But I'm definitely looking forward to the day he shows up. Doomsday. Anyway, so it was in the magazines. It doesn't count. All right. So finally, and Jason, you can come back now. And man, this podcast took longer than I wanted it to. There was one other show that has debuted and has completed its run of 13 episodes on the CW, and that show is Black Lightning. Now, I'll just say right off the top, before I let you guys talk, that before Black Lightning came on, and we had heard that they were deliberately, it wasn't going to be quote-unquote part of the Arrowverse. Now, there is one episode where they make references to a couple characters, but that could just be the existing movies or comic books on that in this universe. I'm still holding out hope somehow that that's not a done deal, that they can, if they ever choose to, they can. But having watched all 13 episodes, I can kind of understand why they're doing it that way, and maybe it doesn't need to ever cross over. But man, it would be kind of cool if they ever did. Jason, since it's been me and Vicki for a little while here, you now you haven't watched. You've only seen the last 5, but you haven't seen the first and the pilot, but you didn't see the 7 in between. Is that correct?
I did it weird. I saw the first 2. I saw part of the 3rd one, and I saw the last 5.
Okay.
Just because it hit Netflix today, so I was able to watch parts of the first part of the season today.
Okay. Okay, so obviously you're not going to have as clear a view of the overall show as we would, but what are you thinking of it so far, of what you've seen?
I have to tell you, I really love the pilot, and I wish I had hooked onto the show more when it was on, so I could watch it every single week. Yeah. I loved it. It had a really different feel than the other shows, you know.
Oh yeah.
It was definitely I'd say more grounded, and it's definitely more. I don't know. I love.
Are we all going to be careful with how we talk about this show?
Because
we were afraid of talking. I knew that was going to happen. Go on.
I love the actors that played in it. I love Tobias Whale, who this is his first real acting gig. But I thought he was fantastic.
This is his first real acting? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's his first.
He's great.
Substantial acting gig. Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, you can make a case for him being the best villain on any of the shows we've just talked about. Because he's really good. Wow. I didn't know this. Wow. I'm impressed. Go on.
Because he definitely owns every scene that he's in.
Oh, yeah.
And the guys that they've picked, you know, the main character, Cress Williams, I love him. The daughters love them too. You know, you think they're going to be annoying, but they're really not. Especially the one played by China A. McClain, but she kind of grows on you, especially towards the end of the season when she's like, "But I don't want to be a hero." When she's got powers,
right.
Which is a nice, you know, it's a nice change.
Right.
And then she's forced to have to use him in order to save her dad. It's nice to see James Remar getting work again, playing a character more associated with the Flash family than Black Lightning. Am I wrong in that?
I don't know. Go on.
Gamby.
I don't know.
Gamby, he made all the costumes for the villains.
I don't remember. It's late, and I was drinking. Go on.
Yeah, that guy, the guy that plays Tobias Whale, he's only been on one other thing, and that's Harry's Law, way back in 2011.
Okay.
So yeah, I thought it was good stuff. I'll be interested to see what I missed out in the middle.
You missed some stuff.
Nice to know that. Well, I saw that Jill Scott's in it. The episode I'm on right now. Jill Scott's in there. I was like, hey, I know that person.
Wow.
You're right. It is late.
Yeah,
but I love the fact that their characters exist. Supergirl and the Outsiders and Looker, they exist, but they exist in the media form like comic books and TV shows, like they would in our world.
Although, then I'm going to throw it up to Vicki after this. Although, when they make the reference, they never make it clear that that's what they're referencing. So I'm saying there's still they make the reference, but they don't specifically say that they're making reference to a comic book or a TV show or whatever.
No, because
she says one of them says Vixen and Supergirl, I think, or something.
Supergirl. Well, in the second episode, Thunder's friend holds up the Batman and the Outsiders comic book.
Well, yeah, I don't mind it's okay to have the Outsiders comic because the Outsiders doesn't exist anywhere in the thing. But the problem with because you're gonna take me down a path I didn't want to go, but I'm gonna do it now. Damn you. That was kind of okay.
I'm good at it.
I really like the show, but I felt because who was it that picks up the freaking comic? Was it the daughter?
Friend. It was her friend.
Anissa.
Okay,
Anissa's friend. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know this is how this is gonna sound. I'm calling bullshit on that. I just didn't buy it. I just like no. I don't buy this. I don't buy it. There was something about the scene and that character and that comic. I was like, I do not believe this. I don't buy it. It's just trying to get a little joke in here. I don't believe that character would have that comic. But I don't buy it. Sorry. Anyway, Vicki.
This show is fantastic. Oh my gosh. I agree with a lot of what's been said. I really like how, Jefferson's, so much of his focus is on his family. That was why he originally gave up the Black Lightning mantle. But then again, that's now why he's taking it back up because he wants to protect his daughters now that things have gotten so dangerous. And I love it.
I think one of the things that makes it so unique, and again, let's just, I love the tip tone. I mean, yeah, it's real. First of all, yes, it's great that we have a show that focuses basically on an African American cast. Or a black cast, which I just prefer to say it that way. Because other than, James Remar and the other bad guy, Proctor, whatever his name is, pretty much across the board, this is a cast of color. It's a nice change of pace. It's got a certain kind, and as a result, in the way they've put the show together, it's definitely got a different kind of feel to it. The way they use music, the way the whole vibe to the show is just different than what we've seen before, and it makes it a nice change of pace. But I think also, just as importantly, it's a little bit less formulaic than what we've seen with the other shows. It's not the tightly encapsulated villain of the week kind of thing. They don't really do that on this show. It was one nice continuing storyline from episode 1 all the way through to episode 13, which I think in this day and age is we kind of prefer that kind of a thing. So it kind of had, I mean, I'm not going to say it's quite at that level of quality, even though I think there's issues with them, but it's kind of like the Netflix style of putting the show together. And I think that really worked well for it as well. And what you just said is the last thing that I'm going to go back to. I love that at the core of the show it's about the family dynamic and it's an actual family. I think that really, all the other shows seem to be about either people who are together and form a family, or there's a couple family members, but they're kind of estranged, or they're thrown together, whatever, like on Arrow, but like with her and the sister and all that. But here, I like that the whole focus is this family unit and trying to keep it together, and what's attacking it from outside, and that's really what it comes down to when you get to the final episode. So I'm really enjoying the show again, far more than I thought I was going to. Vicki, now you talk.
But yeah, no, it was just to build on that, just how he, when he learns that his daughters have powers, he tries to teach them, once he realizes, at least with Anessa, you know, she's going to be a superhero, or at least wants to be. So he might as well teach her how to do things, rather than have her mess up and get herself hurt. And I, when she goes shopping for her superhero outfit, that was just hilarious.
Yeah, that was. I love the whole concept of her trying to put together her outfit and everything, and as I understand it, I think what she ends up putting together is something that character. Because I didn't even know, this shows how little I know of more recent things in comic books. She's an actual character from the comics, and that look she had, I guess that's actually kind of a takeoff on a look she had in the comics, from what I understand. You know, so.
Yes, it is.
I really like her character. I really, I've really enjoyed the way that character has kind of just evolved in just a short period of time on the show. I'm hoping. I mean, I'm hoping it's always going to be like Black Lightning and Thunder. I love that little combo. Of course, does he have another daughter who also becomes a hero as well in the comics? I have no idea. Jason, is there another character like that?
I'm not sure.
I vaguely remember something from DC superhero girls. There was like a sister pair. I can't remember what the other one's name, but there was like Thunder and.
I wonder what it is. Maybe.
It could just be Lightning.
Yeah, I want to say it was Lightning and Thunder.
Oh, her name will be Lightning, and her dad's Black Lightning. That's a little. I don't know.
It's a little on the nose, but.
Why not like Sparky? Anyway. Yeah, but I've really what I like about the show is, I mean, there are things. Okay, it's not the most subtle of shows. They do tend to be on the nose with a lot of things, but you know what? It's issues that I don't mind them not being subtle about, because they are getting into a lot of social injustice things, issues of race, about living in the city, about the police and those issues. They are not shying away from that, and I appreciate that, because quite frankly, all the other shows you mentioned, they wouldn't go there. They won't go, at least not even remote to that extent. Supergirl does like to get a little into the little nods or touches on things. Obviously, a lot of stuff with the aliens is kind of a riff on the whole immigration issue in this country for the last year or two, and so on and so forth. But this show is kind of just plunging right forward to it, right up to having like the ultimate, one of the main bad guys, Proctor, is basically be parroting things that Donald Trump says, about making America great again and all that kind of stuff. Which again, a little heavy-handed having the character do that, but I really enjoy that actor. He's always good in everything I've seen him on, and I've seen him on things where he's either a silly villain. He's really great in the show I used to watch, which should have gotten way more viewers on FX a million years ago, called The Riches. He's fabulous on that show, really good. He should have gotten nominated for an Emmy on that show, quite frankly. It's such a nice change of pace, and I'm saddened that we only have 13 episodes, although I think it worked perfectly that way. And that might be,
but yeah,
they
used the episodes well, and they did it in a concise manner that there wasn't things dragging out.
They didn't waste time, and these are villains that when they do bad things, they do really bad things. Yeah. There's a body count on this show for sure, And I mean, Tobias Whale is great. I think, and I love the Cyanide character, who's also from the comics, as I recall. And yeah, I've really been enjoying it. I kind of wish there was a way they could do a crossover thing, although I'm trying to imagine how those characters would interact. It'd be kind of a little weird, but what the hell, why not? They can do it. Either of you got anything else about it?
No, I don't.
A real Vicki, anything else?
I think we're good.
I think we're all petering out here. Just so people know, it's well Eastern Standard Time. It's well past 1 a.m, so we're all weary and tired. But We're a little over 2 hours, but what do you expect? We just covered 6 TV shows. So that's going to happen. If you enjoyed this podcast, this megacast, you'll enjoy hanging out on the Facebook page as well. That's the Facebook page for the Serious TV Drama Podcast. You find it, like it, join the conversation. You can find us on iTunes the very same way. Type in the Serious TV Drama Podcast. Subscribe to our feed, where you can also rate and review us if you like. Pretty much, if you punch us into Google, you'll find us half a dozen other ways. Apparently, we're even on YouTube, apparently, which is strange. And finally, you can follow us on Twitter. Our handle there is at STVD Podcast. It's STVD as in Serious TV Drama. It was nice getting a chance to talk to you guys again. It's been a while.
Too long.
Yes, I know. It was. Well, let's confess, a certain person was supposed to record a certain podcast with me a few months ago and dropped the ball and did disappearing act. So, for the most interesting season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, didn't get to do a goddamn podcast for it. So I'm a little miffed about that.
Shame on Cade. Shame on him.
Cade. Wow. You haven't listened to our last podcast, so it's going to be every podcast is going to have us throwing Cade under the bus at the end of it.
If he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, if you listen to the True Detective podcast we did, the special one that we did this week, Dan's ultimate crackpot theory at the very end out of nowhere is that Cade's the actual killer. It's just like I didn't know where he was going, and I was like, oh man. Yeah, so I'm thinking at the very least we will get together again when everything is wrapped up so we can talk about the finales. I got a feeling that we might want to get together at least one other time because there's been some movie stuff we might want to do a separate podcast for. I'm thinking we might move away from DC for the moment, talk a little Marvel.
We might go to war.
Well,
oh gosh,
there's the war thing, and hey, we've never talked about a certain other thing, which is only like the second or third biggest movie of all time, apparently now. A certain Panther might merit a few words. Notice how they're really playing that up in the ads to really make sure they get the Black Panther audience, like they need the help. Yeah, I believe. I kind of suspect Cade might even show up for that one. We'll be talking a little. We'll be talking well into infinity on that one, I'm sure. So, I'm so tired. Again, thanks to you guys. Hopefully, Dan will know to end the phone call on his end. I don't know how to tell him, but good night to you guys, and good night to everybody out there.
Good night.
Good night.
The monarch of motion, the sultan of speed, the wizard of whizzle, yes indeed. Go from here to China in a no time flat, beat the speed of light and you can't beat that. The Flash, meet the mighty Flash. The Flash, in a fight he'll smash and crash, smash a whole gang of crooks or schnooks. Hey, he'll just clobber any kind of bad guy, thief or robber, the world's fastest human, yeah man, the Flash, the undefeatable Flash, the undefeatable Flash. No one knows Barry Allen is his real name, works with the police, justice is his aim, wears a ring with the Flash's uniform in it. When danger threatens, he'll switch in a minute. The Flash, meet the mighty Flash.